Thank you very much. So then, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our workshop and lecture about linking innovation to business objectives. And today we have three presenters. That is Hans Schulski from the NHL Stenden and Esme Melling, which is very closely related to NHL Stenden, and me, that's Florian Maurer from the Vorarlberg University of Applied Sciences. And today we will present the following items. So we will do a kind of a warm-up and talk about the definitions about creativity, ideas, and innovation, and also about entrepreneurship. So that is just the warm-up and the recap of the previous workshop. Then we will go into the design theory. Hans will present the theory at a glance, and then Esme will go into our circular entrepreneurship and the method and present the Circ-Track VCF. And afterwards, since that is a very practical session, we will go back into theory. So we will focus on the implementation of innovation into markets and also provide some tools how to manage this innovation in the market. Yeah, that is the plan for today. And if you have some questions, then please do not hesitate and interrupt. So it should be an interactive workshop. But anyway, at the end of our morning, we will have a Q&A section. So then I will start with the question, what is creativity and what is an idea? In the previous section, we were intensively talking about this question, what is creativity and what is an idea? And we concluded that creativity, that is something that is about invention and the discovery, and it's closely related to productive thinking and creative thinking. And it is a process. So it's a constructive and a creative process. And in this process, the people are producing something that is about a composition. For example, if you think about a music piece, like Mozart's The Magic Flute, that is a creative process. But it is also a product or any other idea. So it is a creative product. And later on, we discussed about the innovation process. Is it a single process or is it a kind of a collaborative process? And here we closely defined that creativity that is, of course, coming from a single person, but also can be extended by a group and a team so that it becomes a kind of a group innovation and brought to the excellence by the group. And here we defined an example, for example, coming back to Mozart's Magic Flute. It's a very well-known opera worldwide. And of course, the music is related to Mozart, but he didn't wrote the text. So it was a collaborative process. It was a collaborative creative process. But also, we discussed about an innovation. So when we are talking about the creativity and the output, then is a kind of a product, a composition, a service, or anything else. What is an innovation? What is an imitation? And what is an invention? And here we focused on Schumpeter's definition on innovation, imitation, and invention. So an invention, as Schumpeter defined, that is an idea, but that is never brought to the market. An innovation that is an idea that has been uh, launched at the market, and also he extends this perspective by because you can launch a product on the market, but if it does not bring a turnover or a profit for the entrepreneur, then it's nothing. So it needs to be successfully implemented in the market. And an imitation, Schumpeter also highlights an imitation as an innovative product because, for example, if you focus on Japan or on the USA or somewhere else, and there is an innovative product already implemented, but not in Europe, then it's definitely an innovation for Europe and the region that you are. Innovation for Schumpeter, an innovation that is a creative destruction. So it's always the questioning of old products and implementing new products. And it's a technical progress. And this progress that is, for example, highlighted on the pictures on the left, on the right-hand side. Here he differentiates between uh, basic innovations that happen all 50 to 60 years, and they are closely related to innovation that not only turns the business and the industry to another stage, but also the society, the economics, the environment, the technology, and so on. That is this basic innovation. So very, or here Schumpeter is referring to the Kondrativ cycles. That is about an technology shift. For example, technology shift from manual work to mechanical work, from mechanical work to organizational work and the electrification of mechanical work, electronics and mass production, and also the turn from ordinary factories into cyber physical systems, where, for example, IoT, Internet of Things, and other technologies get implemented. And also, what we are seeing is about the fifth and the sixth industrial revolution, about the integration of artificial intelligence and large language models into production and manufacturing processes. Schumpeter also differentiates between innovation. Innovation for him are, for example, about about new production methods, about new ways to manufacture the product, but it's also about process innovation. So come from do a kind of a continuous improvement process and implement new ways of bringing one raw material to the factory and make the intralogistics and the extra logistics more optimized and efficient. It's also about the development of new sales markets. So you extend your own borders, for example, from Vorarlberg, from Austria, into the Netherlands, into Finland, Portugal, and so on, or thinking about in a global way. Then also it's about the development of new sources, about raw materials and semi-finished products. So you're going again beyond your your regional borders and start sourcing globally. And here he brought also the example. Sometimes it's more important to conquer the air instead of geographical borders. And here he was referencing to the aircraft industry. And as we can see, It is much more interesting nowadays to go beyond the borders of the Earth, like SpaceX is doing, and start conquering new spheres like the Mars, or going back to the moon and evaluate resources and the sourcing of resources at the moon. It is also about the reorganization of an organization, so that you implement some lean structures, or do an optimization of the already existing structures, or also to break up monopolistic organizations. Monopolistic organizations are, for example, AT&T, that were the leading technology provider in the US, and they were damaged in the 80s, and a lot of smaller telephone service providers entered the market and broke down this monopoly. But it's also about technology, the technology shift. So you're going beyond, you're going from a spinning wheel to machine, and then you equip the machine with intelligence and smartness. So, for example, the equipment of CNC machines with IoT, Internet of Things technology, so that the machines can communicate with each other, and also with the humans, and provide data about the current status. And the next step then would be about the integration of edge computing and cloud computing. And as last, Schumpeter mentioned that also innovation happen on organizational measures. Here are some ideas or some examples about what is an innovation. I said about AT&T. AT&T connected in the 19th and the 20th century America with landline cables, and enabled landline telephone connects. But then there was the revolution from landline telephonic cables to mobile and smartphones. But also on the second row, you can see in the 17th and the 18th, and also in the 19th century, there was the encyclopedia. And this encyclopedia got an innovative idea. So everything got digitalized by Wikipedia, a free encyclopedia. And no one had a demand for printed versions of encyclopedias. But now we are facing the transition from the digitalized Wikipedia to AI-supported encyclopedias like Grokpedia. And this Grokpedia making use about every, or at least thousands of sources, and on by using large language models, they are summing up the prompt that you are requesting. And in the third row, you can see also what is challenging us as members of universities and universities. These are, for example, online courses provided by well-known universities that also now taking over some market shares from other universities, but also online universities itself. So a lot of people are avoiding to go for courses in presence. They are registering for online universities and doing their bachelor's, master's, and PhD degrees in online courses. These are, for example, innovations. What we have defined last time, that is so creativity, that is the generation of ideas. And it is also about, and innovation then, that is the implementation of the ideas into the market. And there is also the question about who is doing this implementation. And here we have a very specific role in the business and the economic world. These are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, here I'm providing a historic perspective, starting from Adam Smith, the founder of the modern economics, going into Max Weber, a well-known sociologist from Germany, then to Schumpeter, which is seen as the pioneer in innovation and technology innovation management, and Israel Kirzner. For example, for Adam Smith, an entrepreneur was very easy defined. So it was a kind of a merchant, it was a landowner. And he did a kind of a comparison between this and came to the conclusion a landowner has nothing to do with his profit or with his financial strength, because uh, in any case, this landowner will get some rent from the people that are renting this land. Instead, merchants, they have to be very risky because they have to invest in different markets, and at the end, they do not know their output of the investment. Max Weber extended this perspective and defined it in a way that he separated the household and made rational decisions. So, in his perspective, the entrepreneurs are not given by the political system. So, Adam Smith was about mercantilism that was then released by, or not released, sorry, it was then taken over from the Enlightenment. And Max Weber divided or said that entrepreneurship is coming from the modern society. So it's a bourgeois issue. And for him, it was clear that an entrepreneur is based on rationality, the rationality to divide the household and the business, and business that business that is everything to do has to do with calculation. And in the next step, Schumpeter um, disagreed with this statement and said, no, no. In the center of entrepreneurship, there is creative deconstruction. So these are people of irrationality, people that's taking over the risk and the uncertainty and implement their ideas into the market. And in his perspective, these entrepreneurs did, for example, the interruption, this destruction of business cycles. They implemented, for example, technology innovation that disrupted not only industry but the society at all. And he focused on several examples, like, for example, horse traveling instead, or car traveling, or cars instead of horse traveling, chemics, and so on. And Kirchner, that what is an entry or is a researcher in America, and he's disagreeing with Schumpeter again, because for Schumpeter, everything was about deconstruction, and Kirchner is coming from stable market equilibrium, but what he's doing is searching actively for um, gaps in the market where this entrepreneur can make some arbitrage benefits. Everything in Kirchner's thinking is determined about human action and the launch of information advantages. Here, I'm providing some examples what is meant by basic innovations. For example, starting in the on the left-hand side in the first row, here you can see a tycoon. That is Rockefeller, and with his innovation in the oil industry, he completely disrupted the energy branch. Then the second, that is Henry Ford, with the implementation of assembly lines into production and manufacturing. He completely destructed the manual work. Bill Gates, everybody knows that he is a co-owner of Microsoft, and all of us, we are using Microsoft products, and we are dependent on this product. Then Steve Jobs, he was not an entrepreneur, but he was doing the change within our mindset. So he changed the world by using smartphone technologies. Then on the left-hand side, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos revolutionized the online market with the implementation of Amazon, starting from a company that was founded in his garage, coming now to the largest companies worldwide. Then Elon Musk, you can like it or not, but Elon Musk has the vision to go beyond the Earth, go to the Mars and exploit the resources on the Mars. Warren Buffett became well known for the metaphor of the Oracle of Omaha. He is an investor and he's investing in almost all innovation and technologies that can revolutionize the world. And Mark Zuckerberg, he's connecting the world with his social medias and with his AI approach. And how did these entrepreneurs change the world? So Steve Jobs, as already mentioned, he's doing he did smartphone technology, and Apple still is revolutionizing the world, but lost a little bit the connection with the AI technology. SpaceX from Musk is going beyond known borders and going to the universe. AT&T, for example, that is a negative example. They lost their monopoly situation in America, and Google and Microsoft conquering the world with innovative technologies. It related to computer technologies, cloud computing, edge computing, and AI. And what is represented here as good, better, and best, that is the representation of the evolution of the assembly line approach. So by using the metaphor of Henry Ford, he implemented the assembly line. Now we are continuously extending this assembly line approach with new technologies. So it was about in the past with CAD technologies and mechanical engineering. Now it's about IoT, so the Internet of technologies with sensors and edge computing and cloud computing, resulting to the next picture coming into AI-based innovation and technologies. And before I would like to hand over to Hans, I would like to conclude with a citation that Steve Jobs did. the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do it. So, entrepreneur, that is definitely one who is dealing with risks and uncertainties and proactively take over the responsibility to work with this complexity and with these complex tasks. Now, I would like to hand over to Hans. Or if you have some questions, so please interrupt, or you can use the chat function. Then I will give you my statements through the chat functions.
Well, thanks for your presentation, Florian. It's a nice setup, I think, for this morning. If I'm looking at Zuckerberg, at Musk, at Rockefeller, at Steve Jobs, of course, which you ended up with, those are the icons for many, many students I think, in our universities that want to do something with entrepreneurship. And from a more broad perspective that you brought us about the development of entrepreneurship, the ideas behind, I would like to go a little bit more into depth about design-based learning and, of course, the design theory and the reason why NHL Stenden started up design-based education in the last few years. So we can go a little bit more in depth and towards, of course, the presentation of Esme later on, because she has, with her institute, a very practical way of, well, let's say, motivate our students to go into depth about circularity and circular thinking, etc. But let's start with this. I'm talking about the reason the Center for Entrepreneurship is in the Netherlands in NHL Stenden active, because the regional economic situation need to be stimulated, and we have a lot of students in our university that it's about 30% that is interested in entrepreneurship, and they all want to contribute to the region and to their own future, of course. And we like to bring ideas to life and innovations boosted. And you need a platform to support, but you also need a system in your institute, your university, that provides this growth towards nice innovation, nice entrepreneurship, etc. And the Center for Entrepreneurship in the Netherlands is just a platform for that. But more important is what we do in our educational programs. As we look at the center, we also changed our attitude towards this, the growth of innovation, but also the growth of entrepreneurship. And I think that's an example for many colleagues, like teachers and lecturers and also professors, how to work with students. And if we look at our attitude in the Center for Entrepreneurship, we observe our students instead of just looking. We listen to our students instead of talking with them and saying what to do. We try to inspire them, we try to empower them, but also to connect them to innovations and to possibilities that not only they find out, but also the other students, colleagues from the region, partners, and of course professors are thinking about certain innovations and the growth of innovations. And at the end, we try to enrich students, but also ourselves with, of course, the aim in bringing new innovation, but also more comfort. And of course, later on, thinking about what's good for our society, like circular entrepreneurship, sustainability, etc. So it's a total pack of things we try to evolve, we try to develop, to bring students in a kind of attitude, a pragmatic attitude, to work on sustainability, to work on innovations, and to work on a better society. Well, the design thinking process is the basis of what we are doing. And Stanford is an example of design thinking. But if you look at the definition of the design theory, then it's about a field that consists of principles, concepts, methodologies that try to explain and shape the design process and practices. But more interesting for us as operational colleagues in the university are, of course, the applications. We look at graphic design, for instance, if you talk about design thinking, understanding how visual elements are used to convey a message. In advertisements, for instance, creative business students are very busy with that, magazines and websites. It's also about architecture. They try to design structures, taking into account the forms, the functions, the size, and the intended use of their findings. It's about art, also providing guidelines to artists in the creation of their work. And we have those students in our university, but most of it's connected to what we do daily on a daily basis in entrepreneurship education, but also at our center, is of course design thinking is the basis of methods that such a design thinking will help companies identify customer needs and develop innovative solutions. And my daily practice is and experience is that so many students have so much good ideas, but how to bring them to life is the big question, and how to bring them to market. And that's about that's one of the challenges we have in our daily guidance of students. Well, my opinion, design thinking is all about entrepreneurship or the other way around. Design thinking helps entrepreneurship grow, but perhaps the entrepreneurial mindset will also help higher education to bring professionals to the market, to the companies, with an attitude that is inventive, that it is taking initiative, that they will look behind the borders of their daily work, etc. So design thinking and learning in higher education is not only about entrepreneurship, but it's also about bringing an attitude to life that all of us working in education, but also working in entrepreneurship, motivates to find, and not only find, but also to boost innovations for our society. What I would like to do as an introduction to look at the advantages and disadvantages of design thinking too. So I would like to have you perhaps put some comments in the chat that we can see what your opinion is about design thinking. I was talking about the definition from Stanford and the definition of design thinking in general. But in your opinion, what is design thinking about? Please put some comments in the chat, so perhaps we can talk about that a little bit more. Collaborative development of a product or a service is what, of course, Florian says. Finding solution for a recognized challenge. Yes, thank you. Yeah. It's an attitude towards what you do. Thank you, Sirpa. Yeah, indeed. Yeah. Perfect. An attitude, of course, is I think, like a mindset. It is one of the most important things that motivates you to think about changes of innovations, the pivoting in innovation, but also the process you're in. That it is always necessary and also gives you possibilities to rethink and think things over if you have found the good solution for problems. It's human-centered, yeah, to problem-solving and innovation. Thank you very much, Alberto. Very nice. Yeah, great. Of course, I've found out some. Let me see where my human-centered. That's what you already said. Creative and iterative method to solve complex problems. It's connecting to the chat you gave us. Thank you very much. And if you look at the students, they learn by researching, divining, testing, and reflecting. It's learning. You get many more perspectives of what you are doing for your study, but also going into depth in problems. So that's a process that brings your mind to life and gives the opportunity to reflect in a much broader way than you perhaps did in a small group. And it's of course connected to the 21st century skills, but we are already past and beyond that idea of 21st century skills. But it's important to keep this perspective alive. I also got some benefits for design thinking for you, and please elaborate on that. It's about encourages the benefits is it encourages active student center and experimental learning. True, but perhaps it's more. Um, Perhaps it creates. Let me see. It promotes creativity and innovation and problem solving. It's about fitting into the labor market by a practice-oriented approach. It's about increasing student motivation and engagement, and especially engagement, I think, because it activates them to think over things that they already know or didn't know yet. And it encourages teachers to coach and supervise. And I think that's a very important aspect of design thinking, the role, the function, but also the attitude of teachers and coaches change if they work on design thinking. Perhaps you have a comment on that, and please put them in the chat box. Thank you, Florian. Considering different perspectives, yeah. Perhaps in an even more broader sense than you prepared your lessons or your college than you did before, if you consider design thinking. And in our experience, when we started with design-based education, where I will be talking about a little bit later, our teachers changed. It was very difficult to work with design thinking or design-based education, but we see there is a new vibe coming into the classroom. There's a new way of talking to students, and students are more, well, and they become in a different role. They are more into the program of their studies instead of listening and just doing their assignments. Relevance is, of course, increasing. Yeah, very good. Real world challenges. Yeah, look in a broader perspective, outside the university, outside your country, etc. Yeah. Yeah. And challenges over there are interesting, like we have the climate change and energy problems in a more perspective way. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So there are a lot of benefits for design thinking, I can imagine. But there are also a little bit disadvantages, challenges to overcome. And we see that not all students feel comfortable with open assignments, especially when we meet our international students. In most of the cases, they are used to listen to their lecturer or professor. And now they're asked to think about the process, think about the program we offer them. It's difficult sometimes, but it's a changing attitude. Assessing creativity is difficult with traditional criteria. Yeah, what I'm saying, it's of course, a new way of working on your studies. But if we look, for instance, at five, the fifth point requires different mindset and training from teachers. That's what we didn't do quite well at NHL Stenden in the beginning. How to change the role of the teacher and how to bring them in a more, let's say, open way to work with their programs and, of course, the things they want to teach. And perhaps you have an experience on that too. Please put it in the chat box. Another experience of NHL Stenden is that when we found out that design thinking or design-based method was very, well, bringing students more motivated, they were more happy in what they're doing. working on assignments from the region, it became more interesting to work with new assignments and regional problems into the cases the students wanted to work on. So it required in the beginning a lot of time and research how to do this. But when we found out how that worked, the programs became more interesting, became more, well, let's say, more flexible even. And we could implement regional challenges for instance, what we're talking about later on, sustainability, etc. Okay, so if we conclude all these advantages and disadvantages, um, design thinking offers many opportunities. I think we can agree on that for higher education. Creativity, collaboration, practice-based learning, those are all very good issues that we can work on, and they will create a better program in our daily lectures. Um, but it requires a different way of teaching. And this different way, it took some time to get there. But if you talk to our lecturers at the moment and how they're working with this design-based education method, they are more and more enthusiastic about it. But implementation, it must be successful, of course. Vision, training, and involvement from all participants in this process is really necessary. But we can talk about that later on, because on the 8th of December, Professor Michiel van Diggeren will tell everything about the insights of design-based education. Well, a small view about what we aim with our design-based education programs. It's all about multidisciplinarity, collaboration, sustainable education, international, but also intercultural. We have a lot of students from abroad that follow our programs, and the intercultural aspect is so interesting. It gives new perspectives, new ideas about the world, about people, but also about the problem, the regional problems. It stimulates personal leadership. They need to act. We need to act as lecturers, but students also need to act and take the lead in working on their assignments or in groups, bringing new ideas to life. So design thinking is something that, well, it gave our programs a very nice and modern vibe. But I'm going to make the step towards the Center for Entrepreneurship. We do in the Center for Entrepreneurship, of course, an extract of what design thinking does. And this is just an overview about the programs we offer. But in all those programs, we try to bring the student entrepreneur to life, to bring them in contact with other cultures, but also with other ideas, work in multi-level project groups. And every phase of their entrepreneurship, if it is in the orientation phase, the pre-startup phase, or the startup phase, enriches the way of working on practical entrepreneurial ideas, but also in a sense that they come to life. And design thinking, design-based method gives them also the opportunity to pivot their ideas in a very fast sense. And it gives them the feeling that, looking at Zuckerberg and at Musk and Rockefeller, like you mentioned, Florian, it gives them the feeling that their ideas about entrepreneurship and their ideas for the society, but also the entrepreneurial ideas, can really come to life if they have the right mindset and if they are able to talk to each other, to other students, but professors, but also experts from the region. And it gives them the idea that what they found out and what they want to change in society is really possible. And the design-based education method helps them to develop those ideas and helps them to be more and more motivated and keep on going with their ideas without losing the aim. And most of the time, it's their dream. It's also an idea about what society can bring them and what the innovational idea from the student itself can put into society and improve in society. So the process of design-based education helps them. It's an infinity model. It is constantly changing, pivoting ideas, adapting societal issues, but also adapting the current situation in the market. So it gives them also the professional attitude to constantly look at what's happening in their surroundings, what's happening in the market situation, and be sensible for this. And also it gives them the, let's say, the strength of not focusing on the product they found out at the first moment, but also focusing on the changes the product, the service, or the innovation must go through in future. So it gives them a more flexible attitude, and it brings them in a situation that really works out in building a company or entrepreneurship in general. So for the last question I have before I hand over the presentation, and I think, Katrina, it's a good moment to have a small break also before Esme starts her presentation. I would like to elaborate on these questions with you. Please, perhaps you can answer this in the chat again. The purpose of design-based education, design thinking, and the connection with entrepreneurship. My question is, and also I have some answered also, but those are my opinions. And if you are working in the mindset of design thinking, you need to discuss this with everybody who's online at the moment. Does it affect business opportunities? In what way? Is it probably more effective than the standard method of education and guiding students in entrepreneurship? What's your opinion about motivation? Our opinion is it's more their own what they're working on. And our solutions and innovations perhaps more realistic if we work with design-based methods of design thinking. I'm really interested in your opinions. Yeah, super, very interesting. You have experienced that students are not eager to define what they do themselves. Please open up your mic and tell us a little bit more about this and how you cope with this problem.
Yes, okay, I will open my video also. Yes, hello. Hi, I'm from very rural area forestry at Hamk, and we have had these kind of challenges with students with, for example, with the Regional Council of Häme, like this regional development issues and how to highlight the forestry kind of practices and research and find companies what they do in this region, and kind of this open questions. I have found that all students are not very eager to kind of define what do they do, like when they kind of want to kind of empathize and then get to know the kind of the field of this open question of this or the student project. They quite often ask me, what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I try to tell them that figure out if you want to interview someone and who is that one that you want to interview, and that kind of issues I have faced.
Yeah, yeah. I recognize those things because when we started up with design-based education, the same questions came along. Of course, we need to help the students to be more open and to ask the questions and find out where the next step will lay. And this process of design thinking, design-based method we use is very difficult at the first at the beginning. But if you coach them through those steps, they will see that they have far much more influence in the end, in the result of their assignments, and also in realizing and making innovations concrete. So this is a process also, and we as teachers had a big challenge to motivate students, especially in the first year, the first half even of the first year, to show them that this gives them much more influence on what they're doing in the study program. So I really recognize that. But it needs to be supported, it needs to be coached, and it needs some time to make them experience that it is a very nice way of working on their programs and their assignments and study program. Yeah.
Yeah, the same. Like I was starting the thing, writing that in my mind, this design thinking attitude is something that when they learn that or get familiar to that kind of way of thinking, I think they can implement it in later on and in other studies and of course in entrepreneurship and so on. So I think it's very valuable for them to get this kind of possibility to learn design
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah. And
it's their fortune, I think.
Yeah, and I think an example what I experience many times in the Center for Entrepreneurship also, for instance, they need to interview future customers or something to get out of the building, to step forward, to make an interview, to go there. And if you don't coach them, if you don't support them in this getting up and getting out and talk to other people they are not used to, when they have this experience, they will find out, okay, this is really nice. It gives me new insights, etc. But it's changing the attitude. And most of the time, when they come from the high school or the secondary school, or even before that, they have not learned these kind of way of working with their studies, and you need to learn them. But during the second year of their studies, and even the third and fourth year, of course, they will get used to it, and they see that it is very interesting to work through their study time in this way. Yeah. Thank you for your comment. Yeah.
Thanks. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any other comments yet at the moment. So I would like to pose Katrina to have a small break now, so that everybody can get a cup of coffee or tea or something else you would like to have. Okay. And then we we change to the presentation of Esme, who will talk about circular entrepreneurship in the Track method. And the reason I asked her to join this presentation is that working together with partners that also do in their methods of working with regional partners, work on, in fact, a design thinking method and more specialized, the Track method from Circular Friesland. It gives the professional example also to students that in real practice, those things really work out. So I'm excited to listen to your presentation later on, Esme. But let's say have a small pause of 5 minutes. I will propose. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Perfect. Great. Thank you.
I will stop my presentation, sharing of my presentation, so you can load up your presentation later on, Esme. From Circular Friesland. Very nice to to have you in this presentation with a small group of listeners. It's obvious.
Yeah.
But anyhow, it's being recorded, so everyone can look at it afterwards also.
Mm-hmm.
I will be interested in what you have to tell about Vereniging Circular Friesland in Dutch.
Yes.
Especially the Track method and where it comes from in general.
Yeah.
What's very interesting is that we are more and more working together.
Mm-hmm.
We want to to connect our students to sustainability, and especially what is in the region of Friesland very important, became very important the last few years. What we do with circularity in general, but also very specific to companies.
Yep.
But that's your presentation. You're invited. Please go on.
Yes, thank you. Can everyone see my screen okay? Okay, perfect. Well, my name is Esme Melling, and I work at Circular Friesland Association as a project officer, circular change. And my work is mainly focused on the construction sector and the plastic sector. And today I would like to talk to you about a little bit about the association in general and about Circo and circular entrepreneurship. So let's see. So first of all, why circular? So every year, the Earth Overshoot Day marks the date when humanity has used up all the natural resources that the planet can regenerate in 1 year. And as you can see in the graph, this date keeps moving earlier, meaning we're consuming faster than the Earth can recover. So in the Netherlands this year, the overshoot day was around the 5th of May, which means that we're now living on the basically in ecological debt for the rest of the year. So this overconsumption leads to resource scarcity, waste and pollution, and accelerates climate change. And it also increases dependence on important materials and energy. The circular economy is a direct response to this. So it's about redesigning our systems so that materials, products, and resources stay in use for as long as possible. So it reduces pressure on the planet and creates regional resilience. So a little bit about our association. This year is our 10th anniversary. It all started in 2015 when a couple of companies did a resource analysis of Friesland, the province. So where do we start with the circular economy? Every member of the Circular Friesland Association has asked themselves this question at some point, and this question also prompted 7 companies in 2015 to take the first step towards closing loops. So in 2015, together with the province of Friesland and the municipality of Leeuwarden, they commissioned a resource analysis of Friesland, and in this way they took the first steps towards the creation of Circular Friesland. So our association has over 180 members, which is mostly Frisian businesses, but also all the governmental bodies of Friesland and all levels of education, which are mainly universities and University of Applied Sciences. So we have a lot of members and they all work together a lot and collaborate on circular initiatives, which is very nice. And I would like to share a little video about our association so you can get a better image of what we do. So I hope that this works, but we'll see.
Before you set the course, you must first choose your destination. The province of Friesland has its destination in its sights. We want to be the most circular region in Europe. Why? Because we've been sailing this course for a while, and our fleet continues to grow. In fact, Friesland is working to make our province circular in quite a unique way. Here, it's not just governments taking the initiative, but primarily the Frisian people themselves. They've charted a course towards circular living and working. Businesses, governments, non-profits and schools have come together to form the Circular Friesland Association. Throughout the province, we remain fully engaged with each other and work quickly and decisively. For example, we have the National Test Centre for Circular Plastics and BETSUS, the European Centre of Excellence for Sustainable Water Technology, an important enabler for the circular economy. In addition, Frisian education revolves around the circular economy, and we aim to make the Wadden Islands the most circular islands in Europe. The journey to becoming the most circular region in Europe is exciting, and we encourage other regions and countries to get on board. So join us on our voyage to a circular future. To find out more about the Frisian method, our projects, and our plans for the future, please visit circularfriesland.frl.
All right, so I hope that this gives a little bit more of an image about our association. and what we do. Now I would like to talk a little bit about the Circularity Gap Report, which Circle Economy makes for different countries and big regions. That they did this for such a small province as Friesland is quite unique, because usually it's for countries. And what came out of this Circularity Gap Report is that Friesland is 10.6% circular, compared to the Netherlands being 9.8% circular and the world 6.9%. So this shows that Friesland is basically the most circular region in the world, which we're very proud of. But it also shows that we're 89.4% not circular. So obviously there's a lot of work to do still to get to the 100% circular, which we would really like. And then we work with these 7 pillars to achieve the 100% circular in the end. So to achieve a clean, happy and healthy Friesland, we work with the 7 pillars of the circular economy, and the 7 pillars provide insight into what you can do to help build the circular economy. Perhaps you're already active on one of these pillars, for example, by collecting rainwater or buying local produce, composting, or repairing, reusing, and recycling products instead of throwing them away. These are great steps, and at Circular Friesland, we're taking a broader approach together with our members. We advocate for an integrated approach in which we manage to close loops and eliminate waste, and a focus on sustainable energy and water. Quality and quantity are also among the circular design principles that Circular Friesland adheres to. As its optimal focus on biodiversity, social inclusion, vitality, health, and well-being. And we want everyone to have the opportunity to participate in society with fulfillment. So in this regard, we view the economy as a means to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in the end. And most of our projects are focused on one of these 7 pillars. So this is what we really work with. Then I want to talk a little bit about our approach as an association. So first of all, we follow a couple of tipping points, which we think are very important. First of all, circular procurement, which we mostly focus on with our governments, the Frisian province, and all the other governmental bodies in the province. Then circular entrepreneurship, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more later. Legislation and regulation, which is obviously very important to get things started and going, and circular education. So these are our main tipping points. Then our program involves a lot of programs and projects, basically, but we also have development paths for companies, general member meetings, circular cafes, and circular expeditions, and our platform Inzicht. So basically, all of these steps are there to get companies and all of our members to collaborate with each other, meet each other, network with each other, so they can also start projects on circularity with each other. And for example, Inzicht is a document in which all of our members are listed so they can find each other easily and then connect with each other about projects. So that's what our program looks like. And then we have a couple of circular clusters in Friesland, which are construction, water, plastics, infrastructure, agri-foods, and hospitality and tourism. And this is what we focus on most. As I said before, I focus mostly on construction and plastics, but I have a lot of colleagues who focus on the other parts. So this is where we work towards circularity the most. Obviously, there's more things, but this is very important for us. And then we have a couple of projects and programs. We have a lot of projects European-wide, but also nationwide and regional. So for example, we have a project on construction, which is Friesland Bouwt Circulair. A lot of projects about plastics, which are mostly European or in the northern of the Netherlands. So not just Friesland, but we work together with Groningen and Drenthe, 2 other northern provinces a lot. Then we also have a program on circular business parks, Circo, which is what I'm going to talk about more, which is about circular entrepreneurship, and then circular commissioning and procurement, recreation and tourism, and Spark the Movement, which is about education. So firstly, I want to talk about Spark the Movement a little bit more. Spark the Movement encourages and supports educational institutions to collaborate with each other and partners in the region to build circular talent. So students and young people are indispensable in the transition to a circular economy, and we really need them for a sustainable world. So with the right knowledge and skills, the new generation will become a vital link in solving the major challenges of our time. So to do this and to implement this in education, Spark has 3 main steps which they work with knowledge institutions. And these steps are, the first step is that every initiative that promotes circularity and sustainability in education counts. So Spark the Movement celebrates all these sparks and supports them where needed. And then the second step is that they connect educational institutions, businesses, and government organizations, enabling them to collaborate on projects that contribute to a circular economy and a sustainable society. And then the final step is that Spark the Movement supports educational organizations and governments to jointly create an educational system that trains young people to become transition experts in the end. So a lot of the work that we do is focused on kind of bringing together the government's educational organizations and businesses so they can create things together, which works really well, we have seen. And then we have our program Friesland Bouwt Circulair, which is about the construction sector. So we know that the construction sector offers significant opportunities in the field of circularity, including innovation, raw material use, and carbon capture and storage. So under the name Friesland Bouwt Circulair, Circular Friesland is collaborating with supply chain partners on a concrete multi-year implementation program to accelerate the transition to a circular economy. And we are committed to applying circular and bio-based building standards on a practical scale with an integrated approach that closely involves government agencies, businesses, and educational institutions. There they are again. And a large part of the construction chain is represented within the association, which for us makes it really good to connect them because they all know each other, and that's how our projects really move. So the Frisian construction sector is evolving from a major consumer of raw materials to a source of inspiration for the circular economy. And we want to demonstrate that sustainability and circularity can go hand in hand in construction. And in doing so, we inspire other sectors and regions. And within this program, we are working on this with various action lines. And one of the action lines we're working on is drinking water conservation, which is a big thing in Friesland. So the Netherlands, or Friesland, is known as the leading water province of the Netherlands. We have a lot of water. We have the Center of Excellence of Water in Friesland. So we're very known for our water conservation, but shortage in drinking water supply are also looming here within a few years. So to address this challenge in construction, the Circular Friesland Association and the Center of Expertise Water Technology have established the ambition table for drinking water conservation. And this table connects government bodies, market players, housing associations, and knowledge institutions to work together towards conserving drinking water. So then I would like to talk a little bit about circular entrepreneurship, or Circo, which is the method that it's called. So since 2021, Circular Friesland has been the official Circo hub of Friesland. This means that we organize all Circo tracks and demos in the region, and we enable Frisian entrepreneurs to get started with circular design and supply chain collaboration using this methodology. So with our guidance, companies not only gain access to current knowledge and tools, but also to a network of like-minded entrepreneurs who want to innovate circularity. So what is a Circo track? A Circo track is an interactive 3-day track, basically a development program that helps companies take the first steps towards circular entrepreneurship. And during this track, entrepreneurs work on designing their products, services, or even business models with the goal of developing a future-proof circular business. So together with other entrepreneurs and designers, they'll go through a structured design process, which is guided by experienced Circo trainers. And they'll learn to recognize opportunities, discover circular strategies, and develop a plan that you can immediately apply in practice. So Circo tracks are available for various sectors, and we've done a lot of them in different sectors. But for example, in the last few years, we've done one in the plastic sector, consumer goods, and manufacturing. And recently we did one with bio-based building. So a lot of construction companies work together on more circular business models in the bio-based building sector. And each track is tailored to the challenges and opportunities within the relevant sector. So circular entrepreneurship offers a wealth of new business opportunities, which not only increases competitiveness, but also creating a new value for the company and customers. And during the track, entrepreneurs collaborate with supply chain partners, making ideas smarter and more feasible, and potentially building new partnerships. So that's basically Circo.
Yeah, as well, I want to add something to this because
yes.
At NHL Stenden, we decided to work together with you and teach some teachers and even members from the Center for Entrepreneurship the Circo track learning method.
Yeah.
So that we can also, in an early phase, bring students into the method and think about circularity in a more detailed and broader perspective way. So all our students will be coached in the next few years by certified trainers that you will educate as a Vereniging Circular Friesland.
Yeah.
And brings the connection to design thinking, to looking in a broader perspective, taking leadership and initiative in a way that it contributes to a better society too. So that's really nice. And we are very happy to do this with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. It's a very interesting and a very good thing, I think, that we're implementing Circo in NHL and in hopefully other institutions later. I would like to explain Circo a little bit more by the value hill, because this is basically circular entrepreneurship is about retaining value. And in a linear economy, which is the first image, we add a lot of value to a product or service while making it. So during the extraction, manufacturing, assembly, retail, and then when it's at the most value, it's when the customer uses it or the user. And in a linear economy, usually this period that the user is using it, it's very small. And after they're done using it, the value gets destroyed very easily, and the value hill, it basically goes down pretty quickly. And we don't want this in the long run. So in a circular economy, we're working more towards retaining value. So we still go up the value hill, adding value while making a product. But when the user is using the product, we want to extend the period that they use it for as long as possible. And when they're done using it, we want to not just go down the value hill again, but try and stay as high in the value hill as possible. So you can do it by repairing or maintaining a product, or reusing, recycling in the end, but we try and stay as high on the hill as possible. So for example, an example of a company that does this really well is Patagonia, the clothing company, which they design clothes especially so they can last longer. And when the clothes, when someone is done using it, they can either send it back to Patagonia and they will repair it if something is broken, or they have a resale service where if people don't want their clothes anymore, they can send it to Patagonia and they resell it to other customers for a lower price. So they really have this value hill or circular mindset in retaining the value of their products for as long as possible. So this is what we want in the end. And this is what really is one of our main points. And also during the Circo track, that we really try and get companies to think about their circular business models, their services or their products, and get them to think about how they can stay as high as possible on the value hill, so their products retain value. So an example of something that came out of a Circo track is Opnieuw. And Opnieuw is a Dutch organization. It's really a circular organization, and they believe that a circular economy is possible and doesn't require new raw materials, because after all, everything is already there. So they're working on this together with a team of diverse employees, also focusing on the social aspect of sustainability. And they believe that creating perfect work environments is possible through genuine responsibility for the world. So Opnieuw creates furniture from used materials and give used furniture a second life. For example, they make tables from old train parts and lampshades from recycled bottles. And besides reusing materials, they also refurbish furniture to extend its lifespan. So they do this by cleaning, repairing, upholstering, and revitalizing. So this is really an example that came out of a Circo track, and their whole organization is basically built on the Circo method. So that was very interesting. Then for another example about the Circo method, we have the Frieske Vezelhennepdeal in Dutch. It's a hemp wool deal in Friesland. So on October 25th, 2024, the Frisian hemp fiber deal was proudly signed by more than 30 parties, including Frisian housing associations, construction companies, developers, and government bodies. And this agreement marks an important milestone in developing a regional hemp fiber installation deal. And they want to implement the regional hemp fiber installation in at least 1,000 construction and renovation projects across Friesland in the coming years. And what makes this deal so special is that it goes beyond intentions or ambitions. It's a concrete commitment. So the housing associations and construction companies have formed long-term partnerships where housing associations shared their expected project pipeline, and construction companies indicated how many of those projects they would willing to make bio-based. And then based on these realistic numbers, the companies could provide a guaranteed market volume to the processing company, which is Green Inclusive. And this sales guarantee gave Green Inclusive the security it needed to invest in building a local hemp processing factory. So right now a factory is being built in Friesland that can process the hemp to make it even more local and to get basically Frisian hemp manufactured in Friesland and then use it in Frisian housing. So in this way, the hemp fiber deal doesn't just support sustainable construction, it also strengthens the local industry, builds trust between partners, and closes loops within the Frisian region. So how does this connect to Circo? The Frisian Vezelhennep deal represents a tangible regional example of a circular value chain in development, and the Circo method provides a structured approach to circular design and business innovation. And together they demonstrate how circular economy principles can move from theory to practice. So while Circo offers a method to design circular business models, the Vezelhennep deal shows what happens when those ideas take root in the soil. So Circo uses 3 phases in the tracks, which is initiate, ideate, and implement. And initiate, the phase is about mapping the value chain and identifying linear pain points, and then from those pain points, seeing circular opportunities. The ideate phase is about redesigning the product or service or even business model with circular principles. And the implementing phase is about developing a roadmap and making partnerships to bring the circular concept to the market. So in many ways, the hemp deal represents an example of the circular economy, which is about reconnecting materials, industries, and people in a local ecosystem. So when applying the Circo phases to the Frieske Vezelhennep deal, we come to the following. In the ideate phase, we were really mapping the current hemp ecosystem. So identifying where value is lost in the current model and where circular potential lies. And then based upon this, we designed a local hemp value chain, collaborating with farmers, processors, and builders to co-create also new roles. And then finally, we launched pilot projects in the Frisian construction sector and are now building a regional infrastructure to actually get everything moving. So the Frieske Vezelhennep deal is what Circo looks like when it leaves the workshop and enters the field. And I think that was my presentation, a little bit quicker than expected, but I always talk too fast when I present. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, you can always reach me on my email or send questions in the chat right now, and I would be more than happy to answer them.
I have a question for you, Esme, because the Circo track method is well, used in the Netherlands, but in what way are you going abroad with this system? I think it's I don't know how that works at the moment. So please, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I think in the Netherlands, it's mostly used right now. So every province has its own circle hub where they do circle traps. I know that they were also expanding to Belgium right now, where they have, at least in Antwerpen, starting up circle tracks. And I think Circle as an organization is also moving more international, but it's definitely in the plans. But how it's going to look, I'm not sure yet. I think it's really in the starting blocks, but they definitely want to expand it to a more international thing. Yeah, but now it's mostly Dutch and in Dutch.
Yeah. Since we chose to work with the circle track method as teachers also, is that a project that will be broadened more interregional, even international? Is that something that is coming up with you? Do you know that?
Yeah, I think it is, because we really want to implement circle or the circular thoughts basically into educational institutions, and with those train the teacher and train the student tracks, that's really an effective way to do that. So there's a lot of people very excited and enthusiastic to also make it more international, to make it broader.
Yeah, because we are very excited, of course, and we really want to know what is the connection between our design-based education method and the method of circle track. What does that mean to each other, and is it perhaps even working out better than we expected, because students already learned to be more interactive with the environment, with multidisciplinary projects, etc. So that's for us a very interesting idea, and we really want to look at that in the next few months and years. But it is not a necessary thing. I think other students and other teachers in other universities can also adapt the method. I don't know if you already have some experience on that.
Not yet, but I think it is definitely possible.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps there are some more questions from the attendees on this morning. Please open up your mic and ask Esme some questions, and otherwise we go to the finalizing this online session with Florian.
I have just one comparison. So, Esme, thank you very much for this brilliant presentation. And I was smiling, especially in the first slide when you presented the World Overshoot Day. In my lectures about philosophy of sciences, I'm also using the metaphor of the World Overshoot Day, but from a Greek methodology perspective. And there is the myth about the king Erysichthon that timbers the forest of a god, and then this King Erysichthon got punished with hunger, with a constant hunger. And the end of this metaphor is that King Erysichthon killed himself just to can eat his meat and bones and so on. So it's a metaphor for me to or a representation and a metaphor how the World Overshoot Day was considered 5,000 years ago. So it's
I think it's a great metaphor, great way to see it.
Yeah. You're referring to this, and perhaps we should use the metaphor a little bit more. I think it's very useful to rethink the things over. Very nice.
Definitely.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat box. I don't see any new comments, so I think you can go to the last phase of this question. Oh, I see Sirpa coming up.
I opened my mic. Yes, thank you, Esme.
Yeah, sorry.
And I was very excited about this hemp issue, and it came to my mind that it is so sustainable to grow also.
Yes.
and I didn't know that it's possible to grow, or there is farmers who grow hemp in Netherlands.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, only more, and
Yeah,
which is
good.
very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask one question from Florian?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I was checking or looking the recordings from the last time. I couldn't then come, but then I got interested about these methods that you were introducing, quite many like brainstorming methods and different ones, and they were not familiar to me, all of them. And I was thinking, I was checking the website if there could be more kind of information how to implement those methods.
Yeah, you can make use of our digital innovation hub. There are some presentation there, and also just for a moment, I send you the URL, and then you can access. I think it's either in the section methods or in the section services, and then you can find some presentations. Otherwise, we also can meet for a bilateral meeting and then discuss some methods and how this can be implemented.
Yes, thank you very much. I will check. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
So if there are no questions, because then I would take over again and come to the last part of our workshop today. And this last part of the workshop is focusing on the implementation of ideas and innovation into the market, and also the management of these innovations, or when we say innovation that are implemented in the market, then we're talking about business and how we manage this business. It's just an example. I know there are many models more, but I'm presenting today the Scrum method. The Scrum method, that is a very agile and a very flexible approach to come from an idea or come from a customer request to a product that can be implemented in the market. And the second methodology that I would present, that is the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard, that is a management tool that helps the inventor to measure and track the performance. I'm only using 2 slides for this introduction or presentation. And if you have questions, so then please feel free to ask the question. I'm trying to be as exhaustive as possible. When we are talking about the Scrum methods, the Scrum, that is a process-based and results-oriented model to design and develop products and services. And it's mostly used in the field of IT. So for software engineering, where you need to be agile, where you need to be flexible and react to first the internal questions of the development team, but also to the questions and the requirements of the external customer. But what we can observe, that is this method or some modifications of this method get more and more applied in other fields of business and disciplines. And what is the advantage of that? So it enables you to collaboratively work with first internal groups, teams, centers, and knowledge barriers, but also with external sources of knowledge, wisdom, and expertise. So in this approach, the customer is closely entered into the development of the idea and the innovation, and lastly into the product. And yeah, it is more about mentoring instead of a strict management of that. And the aim of the Scrum method, that is to have a product that is as fast as possible distributable to the customer. So core target that is the time to market, and so that should reduce the production costs for the supplier, and the transaction and the waiting costs for the end customer, or for the customer itself. And as you can see from here, the Scrum method is based on 4 methods or 4 steps, resulting into the product backlog, the sprint backlog, the sprint itself, and then into the product itself. So apologize, that is in German language, but it's very easy. In the product backlog, together with the customer, you are defining, or with the inventor, you are defining the requirements into the idea. So the idea was brought to paper, and then you are defining the requirements. And the requirements are some must-haves that this innovation, this product, this service needs to have. And out of the product backlog, you are developing the sprint backlog. The sprint backlog, that is, you are choosing the most important requirements that are to implement the product or the service itself. So for example, if you focus on an IT project, you are first specifying the infrastructure, first the ontology is composed of the infrastructure, then the hardware, the software, and so on. And then in the sprint backlog, you are focusing on the most important things, that is the setup of the infrastructure, the setup of the hardware, and later you're focusing on the soft and the software aspects. Once these items are defined, you're going into the sprint. So the sprint, that is explicitly about the implementation of a requirement. So for example, the IT infrastructure, and in daily meetings, you are defining the to-dos for the task. So in the morning of every day, the Scrum team meets and defines the tasks, the to-dos, the activities, and how the implementation will be managed. And on a larger scale, so the sprint can happen for example, from the morning until the evening, or from Monday in the morning until Friday in the evening, and so long. So that is a time span, a time frame. You have some coordination meetings. And based on the sprint, you are preparing, or you're developing a product that meets the requirements of the innovator, of the end user. A Scrum process that is composed of several roles. For example, you have implemented a product owner. The product owner, that is a manager, the architect, and the leader of the Scrum. And it is very good to compare with the innovator of the product. This role, the product owner, represents the customer requests. And customer requests are the innovation for for the company. And the product owner is coordinating and steering the overall process, so the overall product. The Scrum Master, that would be the second role. The Scrum Master is only focusing on the requirements. So this guy is managing the requirements engineering and focusing on the rules and the principles that the team and the external stakeholders of this project complied to. So, for example, the Scrum Master is organizing the daily meetings and also manages the inclusion of external knowledge, like the knowledge and expertise of the customers. And this guy has also a lot of decision competences. This guy can define the team, the requirements, the importance, the rating of the requirements, also the duration of a sprint, and also when the product gets delivered to the end customer, and how the end customer can give feedback. And since we have now two leaders, now we need the Indians, and that is the Scrum team. So the Scrum team, these are the developers of the innovation. So they are focusing on the implementation of a specific requirement. So, for example, an IT infrastructure architect is focusing on the implementation of the servers, the online servers, the databases, and so on. And the software architects are focusing on the implementation of the sources that needs to be integrated in the development of the product. They have a high responsibility, and they are also self-managed. The responsibility, so every decision they make, they need to be responsible of this decision, because nobody or because they are considered as the experts in this process. And the self-management, so they are not forced to work strict and in a stable way. So they have a dynamic structure and can define their activities according to their own needs. Yeah, and once we have delivered a product, so that is implemented in the market, then we have set up a business. So according to the theory, a very simplified theory, then we are coming into the management. And the management, here I'm presenting the balanced scorecard. And as you can see on this slide, the balanced scorecard is composed of 5 interrelated strategic elements. So the balanced scorecard, that is strategic management tool that are focusing on the measure and the tracking of organizational performances. So it is focusing on the finance of an innovation. It is focusing on the customer integration. It is focusing of internal business processes, and also on the learning and the growth perspective. But once you are measuring and tracking the performance, you are also able to define the expectation that you have into this innovation. So it is clear then that you can announce, for example, a strategy for this innovation, and also a kind of a vision statement. So it's about a statement for the future. What do you want to achieve with this innovation? So in the end, balanced scorecard that tells a story about the system's strategic development and announces the causes and the effects of the relationships. So it is about what to do and what needs to be done, which activities needs to be launched to reach at the end the strategy and the vision that have been announced in the present. Starting from the strategy and the vision, then you are defining, for example, the learning and growth perspective. The learning and the growth perspective, that is about what do we need to do that the people, the employees, can implement or develop renewals, adaptations, modifications, ideas, and innovations. So that is about how do we meet the future challenges. Instead, so I'm going to the right-hand side of this slide. So we are the business process perspective. That is then about all about operational efficiency. So about process improvements and the innovations that need to be implemented or that have an effect because we learned. The customer perspective, that is about the question, how does the customer see us, or how does the customer see us as a business or our innovation? And also the question, what value do we as innovators or as a business provide to the customer? And an objective or the objectives that are closely related to this perspective, these are the customer satisfaction. So the question, how do we satisfy the customer and serve the customer requests and needs? And also our own reputation, the supplier reputation, this we as supplier for the customer. How can we, for example, increase the quality, the service quality, the product quality in for the customer? And the most strategic value of this balanced scorecard, that is, of course, the financial perspective. And here in this view, you are defining, for example, the revenues that you would like to achieve with the innovation with your business. Define the profitability. So it is about the awakening between the revenues, the turnover, the revenues, the expenses, and then the turnover, and then, of course, the ROI, the return of investments that you are doing. So, are the efforts higher than the return? Then I think you need definitely rethink your strategy. How does a balanced scorecard look like? That is just to exemplify. So starting from the top or from the down, it doesn't matter. I'm starting here from the down. So the learning perspective and objective that would be to increase the creativity and the ideation of entrepreneurs, and a possible measure that needs to then to be implemented or could be implemented. That is a kind of a intrapreneurship system. And this intrapreneurship system then is underlined with a clear target. So for example, for me, it would be a target that the employees develop 2 new products or new services per year. And the initiatives that we as an organization, we as an innovator needs to do, that is the implementation of creative processes. So the session that we talked just 2 weeks ago. Coming into the business process perspective, an objective that would be research and development, so the development of innovation, and a possible measure would be a cooperation with the universities. And a target that highlights or that can be achieved, that would be 2 funded projects per year with the universities, and an initiative would be make a request or get in contact with the Run EU network, or go in contact with the NHL Stenden or with FHV and so on, and discuss and develop common projects that could be submitted either to national or international funding tracks. The customer perspective then would be, for example, the customer requests itself. For example, a measure then would be an increase of the customers. And here we are defining, with our innovation, we would like to increase, or we would like to have 15% more customers per year than the year before. And an initiative that would be then, we need to focus on marketing. And in the end, coming then to the top, all the efforts that we are defining should lead to an increase. Here, I am exemplifying an increase in turnover. That means a turnover could be increased through decrease of purchase costs, or we reduce the costs, decrease of rework and standstill of machines. And always we are announcing this with clear targets, and targets that are achievable and measurable. So, for example, the increase of the turnover about 5% compared to the previous year, that is reachable, it's measurable. And the reduction of costs by minus 15%, that is also measurable. And the balance scorecard, that is a tool that helps you to keep track with the strategy and the vision that needs to be implemented in the future, in the near future, in the midterm future. And also, if you focus really, really on strategic issues, then also in the long-term future, which means 10 years plus. So now I'm at the end of my presentation, and it seems that we are in time. So it's 1 minute after 12. And if you have questions, so we are here to answer it, but also on this slide you can find my contact details. You always can contact me by email and ask the question, and as offered in the previous question, you can have bilateral meetings with me and with us, with Hans, trilateral meetings.
We have a question, Florian, from Patricia. She raised her hand in a very neat way. Good morning.
Good morning. Sorry, I'm sick, but I try to speak slowly.
Okay.
Thank you for all the presentations. Florian, I do my PhD in balance scorecard. I have a lot of papers published, and this example that you tell us, it's in a university, right?
Yes, I'm focusing here on a university. So
It's
that is
a public or a private university?
This
Oh,
you mean
because
this example.
yeah,
So it's not defined. It's just randomly chosen examples just to give a demonstration how the balance scorecard is working.
Okay, because it's different in public and private universities because sorry, I don't speak very well English, because of the financial perspective and in the top of the strategic map. And in public university, we put the customer perspective in the top of the strategic map, but with another name. We don't call customer,
Yeah.
students and other stakeholders, or for example, and in the private universities is different, and we talk all morning about innovation, creativity, and do you think it's possible to create a new additional perspective for these areas? Yeah, I think in the university we can do that. It's my personal opinion, okay? It's only my
Yeah.
You understand, because I don't speak very well and I'm sick.
Don't worry. I highly appreciate your question. So of course, that is just a representation of a balanced scorecard.
Okay.
And from my understanding, you can exchange these levels. You can say, okay, if the customer is more strategic than the financial, then you can change the perspective. But what it is for sure that everything is connected and everything has every change in one perspective has a cause for the other perspective.
Yeah.
That is what I want to highlight here.
I teach accounting, and what do you say? It's very difficult to measure the relationship between the cause effect between the measures. Yeah, you understand?
Yes, I understand.
Yes, is very difficult to measure. Yeah, but it's important because we need to know the performance.
Yeah, of course that is. But I think it's from a financial perspective, it is very easy. So it's just arithmetic calculation. So the increase of 5% or not, that is a comparison between the
it's
previous
not
year
a
and so on.
problem.
Yeah.
I also understand what you're asking, Patricia. It's a very interesting question too. From my perspective and my experience, 25 years in business before I worked on the university in the Netherlands, we used the balance scorecard, let's say always, but not in that specific theoretical sense. And I can imagine that if there's something going on in the, let's say, the capacity or the knowledge of people, of your people, your employees, and
intangible
it decreases or increases, what is the effect, the measurable effect on, for instance, your internal processes or your customer response? But there is an effect. And we tried in many ways to measure that and make it clear, especially when you need to invest, for instance, in training programs or new systems or whatever. And you want to have a kind of certainty that if you invest, let's say, for $1 million or €1 million, that it works out in the same way for your profit or your performance at the customer side, but also in the financial side. It would be interesting if there is a standard method for that, but
unfortunately,
there's so many factors that influence those specific investments in the modules of the blocks of the balance scorecard. No, interesting case.
Kaplan and Norton said that the learning and grow perspective is the more important in the universities, but the more difficult to measure. And the know-how, the intellectual capital, that things. Okay.
And
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
It's not written in stone that if you invest into creativity and ideas, that you have more innovation in that sense. That
Yeah.
is for sure.
Yes, for sure. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. Thank you for this question.
Yeah. I think we need to round up this session, Florian. Also to thank Esme Melink to attend and to give her presentation here. And thanks to Katrina, again, helping us in, having the connections between the people who are interested in an online workshop. And later on, of course, the possibilities to look at the recordings that we will bring online for everybody available.